Hi, a very warm welcome to the webinar Education in Global South, a New Possibilities. The panel will be looking to innovative approaches that bypass novel restraints in the global education scenario. Today we have Ms. Heidi Rothman. She will be talking about the global ethics in education. She has been working in education for decades, and let's hear from her. Please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abbas. I would like to share my slides now first.
Yeah,
because
please.
Pictures to show you. Welcome to my presentation, Building Real Bridges, the Window of Dialogue Education. Yes, my name is Heidi, and in this presentation, I will introduce several key concepts such as Global Ethics Declaration, responsibility, global citizenship education, experimental and community learning, and shared common worldview education, to mention just few themes. Okay, let's see. So for me, these themes are deeply connected to discussions about the global South and to the ways in which we share responsibility for our collective well-being and for planetary care more broadly. I see that global South is also here in the global North by our new people who have immigrated here from the global South. I want to begin by sharing some of my background. For more than 25 years, both in Finland and internationally, I have been engaged in grassroots dialogue work. Alongside this, I have worked within education, teaching, and within religious communities. I am also an ordained pastor at the Lutheran Church. Currently, I work in a diverse comprehensive school where over 40% of the students speak a mother tongue other than Finnish or Swedish. And I also work as a guidance counselor. Through this work, I have seen how grassroots dialogue brings people from different cultures and religions closer together. It makes the world feel smaller, strengthens our motivation to care for one another, and helps us recognize how deeply similar we are despite our differences. Ultimately, we all share this one planet, our common home. Dialogue, it is really much more than roundtable discussions. It is above all solidarity, cooperation. Action that builds trust, strengthens relationships, and through shared experiences deepens friendship, no matter where you are. And dialogue is really a relationship building. It requires openness and a willingness to share one's own thinking and actions. Trust is built through shared experiences, not through theory or lectures. Collaborations, projects, and problem-solving supports dialogue are one of those key elements. Here you can see an example. After a religious community was targeted with vandalism, we organized communal cleaning events to support the community. And dialogue, it has also been involved in efforts to promote solidarity and peace in society. For example, when Qurans were burned in Sweden, these moments demonstrate how dialogue can become a powerful tool for building wider societal connections between people from different parts of the world. The foundation of this all I see is the declaration toward a global ethic. The dialogue has been strongly shaped by the declaration that was launched at the Parliament of the World Religions in 1993. The latest principle, care for the environment, were reaffirmed at the 2018 Parliament in Toronto. And as you see, these principles include respect for life, economic justice and fairness, truthfulness, and rights of women. This declaration is meant for everyone, all religions, all worldviews, including non-religious perspectives. And the golden rule is the key element. This declaration serves as a kind of a minimum ethical framework for building a better world based on equal human dignity, non-violence, peace, justice, truthfulness, and responsibility for one another. That kind of the golden rule guides us to. Golden rule found in many religions and worldviews: treat others as you would like to be treated. And one very important theme that Global Ethic Declaration highlights is responsibility. It's not only that we have rights, we also have duties. The global citizenship education approach invites learners to extend their moral concern beyond the limits of their own communities, supporting global justice, solidarity, interdependence, and commitment to the common good. So this goes very much in global citizenship targets. And I also want to highlight the Universal Declaration of Human Responsibilities, which actually came after the Global Ethic Declaration, that highlighting that we not only have rights, but the responsibilities, especially global and collective responsibilities. And that declaration was done by Interaction Council a few years after the Global Ethic Declaration was launched. This idea connects strongly to a planetary responsibility and planetary care, understanding the interdependence of humans, nature, and all life, and acting for the well-being of both present and and the future generations. And in that slide, you will see eco-social literacy, which is very important concept. And it is also mentioned in Finnish curriculum. And that's something that we try to give to our students at school, understanding ecological and social interdependence, developing values and skills for sustainability, justice, and collective well-being. And this idea requires ecological and social understanding, development of skills that support justice and collective flourishing. And because we are deeply interdependent, we need system thinking to address complex and adaptive global challenges, and dialogue is one of the tools to really practice and find out what is this systems thinking is about. So why do we have grassroots dialogue? Why it matters, and why it matters especially when we talk about also the issues in Global South. People live in local communities, and these communities are changing rapidly. For example, Finland has become dramatically more diverse over the last 30-40 years. When I was around 16, 17 years old, over 90% of people in Finland belong to the Lutheran Church. Today, the number is around 60%, and in the capital region, less than 50%. And when I began interfaith dialogue work, there were fewer than 20,000 Muslims in Finland, and now there are around 150,000 Muslims. The population in Finland is about 5 million people. So we have people from different countries, different cultures, different part of the world in Finland. So I see that we have Global South and North being together also here with us in Finland. So we need the dialogue that helps us to build the powerful knowledge that we need at this moment. And what do we mean by powerful knowledge? It is the knowledge that enables us to understand our lives within broader global and moral context, beyond our immediate experiences. And it is something that we especially need at the moment, because this knowledge is something that makes us to become the people we should be, who we are able to become as human beings through this kind of powerful knowledge. So, dialogue helps us to build this powerful knowledge. Knowledge that enables us to understand our lives. But to cultivate this, we need media literacy and worldview literacy. And we need to advance them both together at the same time in order to to face some of the challenges we are facing at the moment. So the Global South is no longer only a geographic concept. It is present everywhere through people, communities, and global interconnections. For this reason, we need strong community-based dialogue initiatives, because without them, people easily retreat into their own groups. And in times of increased concern over security at the moment, it seems like this tendency becomes even stronger. There you can see some of the pictures of the activities, how we are building peace and more justful societies around us. And do we have more time? Because I could now go to the school environment.
Yes, please take your time. And it's very interesting presentation, especially very informative, please.
Okay, in these next slides, I will explore what all this means, especially in the school environment, how dialogue, ethics, and planetary responsibility shape education, and how we can support young people in becoming responsible, caring, global citizens. So first of all, diversity cannot be addressed with old models. Schools must build new pedagogical approaches that integrate students' worldview and cultural experiences into everyday learning, rather than just isolating them into separate theme days. So we must see our children around us, and they are part of the lessons. So diversity as an integral part of everyday pedagogy. That requires the development of new pedagogical structures and methods, as mentioned earlier. So we need encounters and interaction at school. And what does that mean? Students do not only study cultures and religions, they encounter one another from different backgrounds. Through discussions, listening, exploring different perspectives, thinking together, collaborations, and so on. And the thing is that we don't respect the worldviews, because it's impossible to respect all kinds of worldviews. There are so many and from different levels, but we learn to respect the human person. And through that, we try to seek this global ethic, this minimum ethos for peaceful and sustainable coexistence. And what is very important when students are together, we have to take consideration of their identity. And identity is a layered process. It's not a simple category. It is shaped by family, languages, worldviews, friends, hobbies, media, global cultures, and so on. School does not define a student's identity, but school enables the students to define their own identity. And everything starts from building a dialogue and safer space Actually, it should be safer space, not safe space, because space cannot be safe totally, but it can be safer. And at the same time, when we are building a safer space, it also should be braver space, meaning that there is also some encouragement involved in this space. So together with the class, common ground rules are agreed upon, such as respecting others, listening, and engaging in constructive discussion. And during lessons, students practice dialogue skills, such as reflective listening, asking open-ended questions, constructive disagreement, and building trust. And learning can be supported, for example, going out from the classroom through visits, joint projects, or events, where people from different backgrounds bring their own perspectives into the learning content. And dialogue progresses from curiosity toward discovering common ground. Even though differences remain and can be addressed more effectively later as trust grows. And it is very important that students are part of the lessons, that we have small group discussions or digital storytellings or different kind of methods that we can use in order to invite students to be part of the learning process. And how we should continue. We should make cultural and international dimensions to become integrated into students' lived experience. And this is how the Global South comes a part of the life in Global North. We can make identities visible and build shared understanding. Students' backgrounds, languages, and traditions can be incorporated into classroom activities and discussions, and said earlier. For instance, an assignment where students present a culture they belong to or are interested in. I had this kind of project a couple of weeks ago with the students, and it was so nice to see how they became visible when they were able to talk about their own backgrounds. So that really empowers students and increase curiosity about one another's backgrounds. We can empower the students when they can talk about their own stories and they can make their own questions. You can see this one picture. In the right side, you can see like empty chairs, but actually it is the photo taking from the day called Inter-Worldview Dialogue Day. It was organized at the high school, and you can see the Grand Imam there sitting and waiting students to come around and being able to make questions toward the Imam. Every circle had actually 2 adults from different worldviews answering the questions that student made. And this is one of the methods that the students really liked, that they were able to talk with people from different faiths and make direct questions. And of course, we adults also liked that we were able to tell about our point of views and stories, and we were able to hear what the students wanted to know about and what they were interested about. So, what is the teacher's role in facilitating dialogue? Well, the teacher acts as a guiding figure in creating a safe and braver space for dialogue. And teacher is kind of like a guide in this matter. And but teacher is not the only person who creates the space to be safer and braver. Of course, we need students to participate, and we need the whole culture in the school to support the dialogue. There you can see some of the methods that we have used in promoting dialogue at school. Using cultural calendars as part of pedagogical planning can engage awareness of diverse traditions, and I can see that in the school where I live, where I work at the moment, it's very, very important that students know and they are able to tell about their own cultural events. And they are welcomed in that way to the society. Experimental learning is the key thing if we think of one of the methods, because we kind of start to learn more holistic way when we have experience included. For example, when we visit the different religious places, when we engage with cultural centers, when we participate community events, and when we have collaboration with NGOs and other communities around the school. So the school is not just isolated one institute in the society, but it is working in cooperation with different sections around the school building. So dialogic school as a community. Everyone can act as a facilitator of dialogue, but it cannot be achieved by any one person alone. When a school succeeds in this collective effort, diversity becomes a shared resource rather than a challenge. Shared worldview education is another matter that I see very important when we are building more cohesion at school and in general to the society. Shared worldview education means that people from different worldviews are having the same lessons, religious education lessons, and also secular ethics, of course. Learners engage with diverse worldviews in a common pedagogical pedagogical space, rather than separating students according to their backgrounds, what is happening at the moment in Finland. But we have some of these kind of like pilot arrangements at the moment that some schools already arrange shared worldview education that provides students a better possibilities to really be in dialogue with each other. So we have a lot to do at school to build social cohesion, build more responsible actions toward each other. And I think this is just a start, but I'm very hopeful because youngsters are interested in other part of the world. And for example, my daughter and some of her friends are very aware of what's happening in the world, and they are really committing themselves to make such choices that support the planetary care. For example, my daughter at the age of 20 has stopped eating chocolate because of the unfair trade, how the chocolate is being produced. And more students are aware and making real changes in their actions. I think we are heading for the better world. I think I will finish my presentation now, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, especially giving a wonderful experience and your empirical thoughts on the subject. We will come back to you. Now we have our second speaker, Professor Ainul Jaria Maidin. She has been working long time in the law and also arbitration. Moreover, connecting the universities and the government in the case of education. So we will hear from her, how it's work in Southeast Asia. Please, Professor.
Thank you, Dr. Abbas, Ms. Heidi, and Mahra Said. Yeah, I'm sorry. I managed to catch up with your presentation just now, Prof. Heidi. I am a law professor, so when you talk about STEM, something not really relevant to my area, but then I can share. Briefly, I will address before going further to my own personal experience in dealing with, like in law, we call it problem-based learning, clinical legal education, that area. I will just give a brief outline about what is the STEM education in Southeast Asia, the progress and challenges. So if you look at the Southeast Asia, it's a group of countries, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam. We have our own networking within the ASEAN community. And of course, we go further to Southeast Asia. So in Southeast Asia, especially Singapore, they're actually very, they are like leading they're leading this, if you come to Southeast Asia, Singapore and Malaysia is considered to be among the most progressive countries, because we have quite good investment on infrastructure and the training of teachers. So if you look at the STEM education in Southeast Asia, the progress is tremendous, especially in Malaysia and Singapore, where we have curriculum integration, teacher training, and regional cooperation. But again, the challenges faced in terms of equity, resources alignment, and also we want to make sure that we align with the global standards. Sometimes whatever we do, we will try to look at the global practice. We try to adapt to the local circumstances. But then when you have the local culture, like Malaysia, Singapore, we have three major races. There's Malay, Chinese, and Indian. And three major religion adherents. There is Islam, more than three, I think. Islam, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Taoism, Sikhism. In Malaysia, we have six, a major religion which is recognized by the government. So each religion will have its own sensitivity and its own challenges. So we come together, we be very particular when we do our curriculum, also training as well. So at the moment now, in Southeast Asia, the education relating to STEM is quite critical. And we now call it, our government call it fourth industrial revolution. And we also have this thing called leaky pipeline, where student interest often doesn't keep strong during the transition from primary to secondary. But again, coming to Malaysia and Singapore especially, we are very much on paper chase. We don't really focus on, I mean, skills are important, but then we are very much on paper chase. The students are forced to, take information, memorize them, and especially Singapore, they're very, very paper oriented. Malaysia, we're trying to, but it's never happening there. Like we Asians are, the Chinese call it kiasu. Kiasu means always chasing, always want to do the best. So we have a majority Chinese in this country. Singapore, especially Malaysia, also we have about 30% of Chinese population who are trying their best to, manage the curriculum. Yeah, but again, we know what is STEM. Okay, when we look at the national policy alignment, so most of the ASEAN nations have shifted from STEM, from a niche elective to a national priority. We say Malaysia have allocated quite a big amount of budget for this STEM education. Again, the cascading of the budget is not very, what do I say? The cascading of the budget doesn't happen in the true manner that is required. Then in Malaysia, we have the Malaysian Education Blueprint 2013, and it's ending on 2025. And now we're looking at another area. So we have a heavy focus on high order thinking skills, or HOTS. So this is very important because the Ministry of Education is focused on ensuring that the lower education, higher education, and tertiary education includes STEM education in every aspect. Singapore, of course, is a global benchmark. If you look at the ASEAN countries, Singapore is always spearheading, leading, and they have a very good achievement in this STEM education. Vietnam is emerging. Actually, Vietnam is actually doing very well, the economy, and as well, many investments are going to Vietnam, and so Vietnam is actually trying its best to ensure that STEM education is given priority. Again, we have issues like digital infrastructure expansion. Our government is investing heavily in the hardware for STEM, but as I said earlier, the budget usage, and another thing that we have is, it's very open, it's corruption. So the resources doesn't really get aligned or used in the right manner. It goes into some, politicians' outreach, whatever. So we have these schools in Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia. We are equipping them with digital hubs. We have 3D printers, and also AI-assisted learning tools. AI is very popular even among lawyers and doctors. And again, we have coding as a second language. Countries like Thailand, they have begun introducing basic coding. In fact, in Malaysia, we see many young children from the age of 6 or 7 have started studying coding. And it's a very popular after school or before school, co-curriculum activities. Parents go for it, and schools actually, they do have, but it's not much, but parents, they invest in their children's coding education. And how are we going to move to, now we are trying to move to STEAM, not STEM, but STEAM, where we're adding another term to foster creativity. Yeah, so it's no longer STEM. We are adding STEAM. Yeah, so we have a center called Siamio STEM Ed, which is the Southeast Asian Ministers for Education Organization. We are pushing for planetary hubs to be integrated into STEM using science to solve regional climate issues. So it's going beyond the school in universities. I come to some examples that we can share later. So if you look at the regional comparison, 2025 and 26, these 2 years, Singapore, it has high-tech infrastructure and global leader. But if you look at the challenges, they're trying to manage student stress and exam-centric culture. Singapore, we can never run away from the exam-centric culture. Malaysia is much better. Singapore is very exam-oriented. Yeah, I don't know whether you've read news about children committing suicide because the pressure, yeah. They're not Muslims, but so it's a little bit challenging for them, the stress level. But in Malaysia, although the children are stressed, but we do have some committing suicide because of the pressure, but not like in Singapore. Yeah. So Malaysia, we have a strong policy framework and high female STEM graduate rates. But there's declining interest in pure sciences among secondary students. Our pure sciences students or hard sciences students are decreasing. Yeah, they're going more for the social sciences and the creativity. Previously, parents push all especially the Chinese and Indians, they push their children to do professional courses like engineering, medicine. Yeah, then those who can't do engineering or medicine or don't qualify for those programs, they will do accounting or law. These are considered very reputable among the Indian and Chinese community. The Malays, they're all right. They will do mostly social sciences, religious education, and they go into administration. In Vietnam, we have maths, science proficiency, and rising technical talent. That's a strength in Vietnam. But again, Vietnam needs more creative, less rote-based pedagogical methods. They need to be more creative. Indonesia, they have a message scale for Merdeka Belajar, freedom to learn, reform. So the students are not pushed into any other. The students are given the freedom to learn, and they are not forced to take the stream. And then the challenges in Indonesia is that it has too many islands, a huge area. The population is very huge. It's not easy to control Indonesian population. Yeah? And, their islands are separated across the sea, South China Sea, Malacca Strait. So it's very spread all over the Chinese Ocean. Yeah? And in Singapore, in Indonesia, the teachers also face issues about quality. The quality of teachers are not same. Malaysia is a very small country. Singapore is even smaller. So the challenges are not as great as in Indonesia or Philippines. And we have more resources to spare in Malaysia and Singapore. The challenges that is facing the STEM education progress in this part of the world, especially Southeast Asia, one is the teaching gap, where we have issues with the teacher readiness. So the educators are trained in traditional individual subjects, like if they're teaching law, they only focus in law education. And only now, I think for the past 15, 20 years, we are moving away from a typical chalk and board to doing things. And also the interdisciplinary nature of STEM is not easy to be implemented. Teachers have issues there. Then we also moving from chalk on chalk to project-based learning, PBL. Actually, I use PBL in my teaching. This requires mindset shift that many veteran teachers find difficult without extensive retraining. So in law, especially when we want to introduce problem-based learning or project-based learning, we need to have practical experience. We need to have experience with NGOs, social work. Otherwise, we can never do. We need the industrial experience before we could introduce this project-based learning. Certification, we still have problems in certifying STEM specialist teachers in Indonesia, Philippines, and Cambodia. This is quite a tough task for them. Philippines and Indonesia, they have many islands which are spread out. Philippines as well. And Cambodia, they have internal challenges, especially the political. The second challenges is the equity and digital divide. The gap between urban and smart schools and rural institutions is widening. The the urban smart schools are doing fine because they get good allocation and they have teachers. Yeah, most teachers, they refuse to go to the rural institutions, especially in Malaysia, Sabah and Sarawak. We have vast areas in the rural setting where it's difficult for teachers to serve because the transportation, accessibility to transportation, healthcare, and these kind of things. The teachers, very few teachers would like to go into these rural settings. We still have areas in Malaysia where you cannot access using normal transportation like car or motorbike. You have to use a boat to access. So this is not easy. But there are teachers who are passionate about it and they do that, but not all. Yeah. Then we have the in the connectivity issues. In Kuala Lumpur, we have 5G rolled out. In Jakarta, yes. Kuala Lumpur and Jakarta is actually capital cities where everything is accessible, easier, and we get the first layer of investment and the expertise. But if you go to rural areas, which is about 50%, it lacks stable internet access. So it's not easy to introduce them tools. Then we have socioeconomic barriers. Students from high-income families, especially in urban settings, they have internet access, and then it's easier for them to access. When we have during COVID, we have this thing called work from home, online learning. I mean, I taught 2 years using online digital what do we say, education, and we use Zoom, we use Google, we use many different platforms, Microsoft. So it was very easy actually for us to communicate with students, for them to submit their exams, scripts, everything is online. So it was quite actually very, very beneficial for us. But in some places in Sabah, Sarawak, they had difficulty, and the government need to invest with the digital, with the internet lines. It took some time before the students could really benefit. Yeah. Third is the gender and motivation gap. Yeah, perception that there's a perception that some subjects are, too difficult or boring by secondary students. Malaysia STEM enrollment in upper secondary, it's not very high. It's falling. It's not increasing. It's decreasing. Also, gender stereotype. Female participation is high in life sciences and medicine. We have many female doctors now, but there remains a significant underrepresented women in engineering and computer science. So this is a statistic collected by the government. This is a table where I set out the challenges, details, and the impact. Yeah. So if you look at the first challenge, equity and access, rural schools often lack labs, internet, and trained teachers to roll out the STEM education curriculum. The impact is that this widens the urban-rural education gap. So most of the STEM education infrastructure is benefiting the urban population. Then we have teacher preparedness. Many educators lack confidence in interdisciplinary STEM teaching. So this affects the curriculum reforms and the effectiveness of curriculum reform is not there. So it will take time. It's not in developing countries. We often face resistance. Teachers, those who are retiring in another couple of years, they will not want to take up reform, so they will still want to maintain their traditional teaching methods and the traditional curriculum. So this is also a sort of resistance. Curriculum variability. Different countries adopt various different frameworks. There is no unified ASEAN standard. So we cannot do a proper benchmarking between the region. So because if you want to benchmark, you want to look at apple and apple, you want to compare. But it's not easy to compare between Malaysia and Vietnam or Cambodia. Malaysia and Cambodia especially, Laos, all these places, it's not easy to compare. Vietnam is emerging economy and they have good investment, so they are quite they're trying their best to cope up. Gender gap, female participation STEM is rather low, especially in engineering ICT area. It limits the diversity in STEM workflow. So there is no inclusivity level there. The women's participation is not very high. Funding and infrastructure. So how much allocation is given? As I said earlier, the corruption plays a role in most of our countries, except Singapore. The other ASEAN countries, we still are fighting with corruption. So whenever budget is rolled out for building the labs, buying equipment, installing digital tools, it does find its way out. The budget does leak here and there. So this causes issues with the adoption of modern STEM practices. So if you look at the ASEAN region, the investment for AI and VR offer immediate learning. They also risk distracting students or collecting sensitive student data without proper governance. Then the reliance on AI is very heavy now. Lawyers, most of the students that rely on AI, they don't double check they don't verify the information. It's just 100% AI, which is also causing harm to the students' thinking abilities, the skills. So we are quite disturbed with that issue. Also, it's not easy to do for the students' thinking ability if they don't if they still continue with this. I want to share. I'll stop here, but I want to share something on the clinical legal education. Let me come back to actual thing that we are doing. Clinical legal education is a system I'm rolling out. We've done one in Indonesia. This is a system introduced by my friend Bruce Lasky. He came to Malaysia. He's in Chiang Mai now. Bruce is an American, but he's been in this region for the past, I think, nearly 25 years. I know Bruce for the past 25 years. Before I know Dr. Abbas, I know Bruce. He is introducing a system called clinical education. This is very important. I'm following up from Prof. Hadi. We talk about social education and everything. So clinical education, we introduce from the first year law school or medical school. Medical school, they have clinical education, but law is now replicating the medicine, where we give a curriculum, a problem. Okay, we'll say, okay, you look at these natives. they are taking government land. This is what the government claim. They're taking natives are taking government land. But for natives, there's no such thing as government land or native land because they are the original inhabitants of the country. They are aboriginals. So they are challenged by the government. The government tried to take the land away from them. So this is where we have NGOs coming in, and we put our students there. The students will do the research. Students come up with the court decisions for law. We need court decision, legislation. So the students will go through all these important materials, and also we go to Australia has a very good, strong jurisprudence on native land ownership. New Zealand as well, the Maori and the Aboriginal land. Australia and New Zealand is doing reforms. So Malaysia, what we do, we look at their cases, we bring it to our lawyers, the young lawyers, the pro bono lawyers. So the pro bono lawyers are assisted by us, lecturers, and our students. So we work through the project or a problem, and we come up with the policy paper. We also come up with the law reform and also the possible suggestion. The students learn. They learn the legal, the law. They learn how to draft policy paper. They learn how to analyze the case law to help resolve the problem. So this is actually a real tangible result we see from my background, from legal background. Very, very interesting is that the students are helping the pro bono lawyers, and this is where we give access to social justice. The clinic, we have a clinic, we call it Legal Aid Clinic. In the clinic, we bring in the students expert, and they will sit there and do explanation. They also give talk, and at the same time in the clinic we have something called mediation. I'm sure most of you are aware of mediation. Is where we resolve dispute. You don't need lawyers to resolve dispute for mediation. So we bring in social workers, we bring in policy makers. So all these people come together. We have resolved the problem through mediation, which is not court. It's win-win situation. So we're training the students to draft, to read problem, analyze problem, understand how to implement. In law, we call it IRAC. What is the issue? Identify the issue from the problem given. What are the rules? We have to work within the rules of the country, rules. And then we apply, they identify the rule here, looks at the policy, the legislation, and the court decisions. So this is very important. Then application. So they bring in the rules to apply to the given problem. Then they come up with a conclusion. This is what we call IRAC. This is a legal formula we use for our students. Issue, rule, application, and conclusion. Their conclusion is very interesting, actually. So in the conclusion, they will give, if this is the problem, this is how we solve, and this is the possible solution. If this solution, we give plan A, plan B, plan C. Plan C is a mediation. The government mediate with the disputant, so that the disputant will have win-win situation. Most of us are trained in Australia on mediation. We undergo training, and I think mediation is a very important aspect of the legal profession. Even the doctors study mediation in Malaysia. When I look at the clinical medical education, my daughter is a doctor, so I sit down with her and learn from her before I focus on my clinical legal education. When Bruce taught us, he gave us a lot of, but I also sit down with the doctor to see how they do it. Doctors, they go and see the patient, they will study the patient's history, they do clocking, they call it, the student, the patient's health condition, and they listen from the patient itself. That's why when you go to doctor, you just tell them what you feel, how you feel, what is the condition. The doctor learn from us what is happening to our body before they could do anything. So the young clinical the one who's studying the third year, fourth year, fifth year, and the time they go for, they call it houseman. This 5 years, the doctors are given very, very rigid training. So they will learn, and then they bring it up, they sit down with the professors and discuss what is a possible solution for this problem, what for this disease, how to treat. So this is the medical part. For the lawyers also, yes, we have the rules. So when we come up, so we solve three problems. One, teaching and learning happens in a environment with real problem. Two, young lawyers get pro bono cases and they're confident with the assistance of professors and law students, support them. And three, we are giving out legal aid, means social justice. So India is very popular, Dr. Abbas. The clinical legal education in India is very popular. Pakistan is introducing it. And then, of course, Indonesia, we already rolled out. Malaysia, the new dean is looking at it, and we're looking at how to, get it on board so that more students come in. So students have to put a bit more resources. They have to start from the year one. And by the time they finish, their CV will be very, very beautiful to show the experiences they have. Because when you go out, people ask, what is your experience? What is your knowledge? So with this, we are preparing also the portfolio. It's a project. So they go to any interviews, they are confident. So we have students, we are targeting only 50 students for this project. We have 300 students. The 50 is to be, focused, and we give them the special training. So we will increase the numbers as you go by, because not all lecturers are trained in this, because you need to have industry background. I was a lawyer before. Then I worked with the government closely in drafting policy and law reform. So this comes in handy. And then we have to establish the Bar Council, Bar Society. You have, I don't know how you call it, but we call it Bar Council. So the Bar Council will come together. So it's 4 parties: industry, university, the public, and also we get some funds from businesses who comes to help out. So we also help out the local government. I have projects with the local government to help them to improve their institution reform. So we bring our students as well. We conduct focus group discussion and gather information. So students are also trained in research, where to look for material. Previously, the law students are trained to do research in the postgraduate level. Now, no more. The first itself, we give them legal methods. It means they are trained in legal education using the methodology we give them. So they do client counseling, advising. In law, we call it client counseling, but counseling means advising, learning from the client what is the problem and giving them the minimum information or explanation before pick up the case. So this is what is happening on ground in the legal education. So STEM Education Malaysia, we have allocated big funds, but as I said earlier, the leakages, spillages is still happening. It's still, if once we can stop this, everything's beautiful in our country. So we can, I'm open for discussion now. And the third person is presenting.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. Especially, we are on time, I think now almost. So maybe we'll have
days for Eid. Yeah, sorry. Malaysia,
okay.
we celebrate it 1 month.
Yeah. No, finally you are in. That's great. And especially, I like that the clinical education things.
Yeah. We will share more on that. Yeah.
For your information, last time I heard a news that somebody submitted lawsuit from the AI ChatGPT, and then the Supreme Court found that in India there were a lot of citation. It was not done the case, because false citations and all things.
You have to verify actually, because the ways, I mean, it's like ways also lah, give you, but this is like Google Maps. ChatGPT is having issues because it picks up the sources using the keyword, but it gives you, but the framework is good. That much I like it because it gives you a very, very good draft. You use it for the framework. The arrangement is good. The tool is good. Yeah.
So hopefully, because we were talking about the global south, maybe in future we will have a great opportunity to this STEM, and especially the interdisciplinary education, that the law and history are out of the STEM. It has to be inside, because law will help in these kind of things, and the history of mathematics and science has to be taught in together. Maybe in future, interdisciplinary methods will go maybe in future. So, and Miss Heidi was also giving wonderful experiences, especially from her decades of teaching and engaging with communities. So hopefully, we will have another session, or maybe in-person training and experiences in future. Thank you for joining us, and we will leave the question for the next one, inshallah. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I really enjoyed. Thank you, Professor Aino Jaria, for your presentation. It was lovely. I really enjoyed it, and especially the last part when you mentioned about the clinics, and what was very inspiring when you mentioned the art, that we act the art. It's very critical to have that, and also I think critical thinking, that we should add everywhere the critical thinking at the moment, because when we think of the media literacy is very important, the multi-literacy is so important for students and everybody here, that it's so important. I looking forward.
I'm sure there will be a lot of questions even for our viewers, so we will take it later, and then we will continue this in future.
Yes, and also we have to think of the AI, how it changes the education, the teaching and learning. It is so important. Yes, but we have.
I think we need to come up with a group of people. We could share a lot in that sense. Share. I mean, Malaysia actually went to Finland to identify. This is Finland you're talking about just now, isn't it?
Yes.
Our education minister was using Finland as a model for all our schools. The former education minister, they went to Finland and they brought in many, especially for primary and secondary schools. And I enjoy your slide. If you could share with Dr. Abbas, I could. But it's beautiful actually. Finland's education has been, benchmarked in Malaysia as one of the best for primary school.
Yeah, when I was thinking of that, especially in India also, everybody is looking for Finland. So I thought we have to bring the Miss Heidi to this session when we talk about this.
Beautiful,
yeah. We will continue, and I will go to have a class now. I teach sexual ethics in primary school.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this. Okay, great.
Okay, bye.
Bye.